Fernanda, let's check your voice.
Hi, can you hear me?
Excellent. And how about Lisa? Let's check your voice.
Yep. Hello, hello.
Excellent. Ashley, let's check your voice.
Hi.
Perfect. And Tamara, that is very accurate, the drawing you just posted of me and my dead laptop. Let's check your voice, Tamara.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. All right, everybody. Wow, we are ready to get going with our premium workshop. We are doing gestural portraits today. And I want to welcome you all here. For the duration of the workshop, you want to mute yourselves unless I'm calling on you on voice to speak. It just makes the audio a little bit cleaner for everybody. And basically how we're going to get started, we're going to do about 2 hours of a drawing session. We're going to do 2 to 10 minute poses. During that time, I will let you know how long the poses are going to be. I guess you could cheat and I wouldn't know. Anyway, try to stick to the time periods that I give you. And during the drawing session, you draw for a little bit. When you feel like you're ready to post something, take a quick break, post an image into the workshop channel in the Discord. And as the images come in, I will call on people on voice so they can unmute and I can speak to you about your work during the drawing session. Now, just know that during the drawing session, the time that I speak with people, it's going to be pretty brief. At the end, we're going to do a critique session. That's where we'll have a little bit more time to chat. So I think you should all whip out our timed drawing videos if you're using them. We also have our portraits on the Flickr page. Just know that on the Flickr page, you do have to set your own timer. Time drawing videos, you hit play, you're pretty much ready to go. And of course, anytime you need to get up, take a break, whatever, that is totally up to you. I'm going to take an official break after 2 hours, and we will go from there. All right, everybody, time to whip out your drawing supplies, get your paper going, start those timers, and we're going to start with 2-minute poses, which I know sounds crazy for a portrait. And you know something, you're all going to make mush drawings for 2 minutes, but that's fine. That's exactly what you should be doing. And I will be typing things in the chat. I'm excited, Emily, to see your setup. Looks like you are good to go. And you can take breaks. Like if you're drawing and you're like, oh, I need a little breather, you can come into the chat, tell us what you're up to. You can complain about how hard drawing is, and then we can help you out. So however you want to use the chat is totally up to you. All right, everybody, let's get going. 2-minute poses, and don't wait too long to post your drawings. Don't wait until 20 minutes have passed. Like I would say, maybe after 10 minutes, it would be good to post 1 or 2 if you can, because it is really good to catch things early in the drawing session. And what I'm going to do, you know, I better not mess with the tech. I'm not going to touch anything because, yeah, it's a delicate balance right now. I would love to hear from people. If you want to type in the chat, what materials you're going to be using. I know some people are doing digital. Oh, Chrissy, cool. 3 to 10 minutes. So Chrissy, how about you hop on voice and let me know, because I think you did these before the workshop, right?
I did the one in the upper left. It's 10 minutes. I did that earlier, and then the other 2 are 10 minutes each, and I just did them while I was waiting for you to get back.
Awesome. All right. And you've been on a gesture roll for a while, Chrissy, right?
Well, I've been doing a lot of full body gestures, and the reason I was looking for a workshop like this is nobody talks about how to do a facial gesture, a quick drawing of a face.
Right.
So I figured I would try something like this. And I have no idea whether that's good, bad, or awful, but it's where I am.
So you said these are 10-minute poses, Chrissy?
Yeah, each of these I did 10 minutes.
Okay. I mean, I think you're right. I think there's so much emphasis online of people making very long oil painting portraits, and a lot of the drawings you see are extremely detailed. And I really think the toughest thing to get over with a gestural portrait is you have to be okay with it not looking like a person. And so I think probably my piece of advice to you as you're getting started with your 2-minute sketches is to not even try to make it look like a face, to really try to break it down into abstract blobs, for lack of a better word. Because Chrissy, you've got some really nice shadows, like the female figure in the upper right. I really like that gigantic shadow shape. And so I would say this is good advice for everybody. Try to really not think about facial features. I know that sounds a little bit impossible because that's what a face is all about. But in 2 minutes, you're not going to be able to get all of that recognition. So I would say, as people are drawing, really try your best to look at the figure abstractly. Don't say, I'm drawing an eye, I'm drawing a nose. Say, I see a big chunk of tone here, and I'm going to throw it down. Emily, get on voice and tell me your choice about charcoal and crayon.
Well, charcoal, I'm sort of comfortable in it, but I haven't used it in a while. And crayon, it's just like I can't be very precise with it. So it forces me to just work a bit less finely and to not spend too much time in things and to settle for kind of like general marks and shapes. I think it gets me a bit looser with crayon.
Yeah. I mean, Emily, do you feel like in general you do want to loosen up with your drawings, or is it more specifically portraits?
I think in general it's a good thing. Especially not having drawn in a while. I was just feeling a bit kind of awkward and stiff. So yeah, I think for like these 2-minute ones, it kind of forces me to just move on to the next area.
Yeah. And I will remind everybody that you have to make just crap in these 2-minute poses, because I think, Emily, a lot of people say, well, how could I possibly do anything good in 2 minutes? You can't. You just cannot. And so I want everybody here for the 2-minute poses, just forget about making anything that looks remotely good. It should all look like mush. So I hope that feels better, Emily, to know those are my expectations.
Definitely. It definitely feels better, and I will meet those expectations.
Very good. I'm so glad you won't disappoint me with your mush drawings. Very cool. All right. I'm just going to check in with people regarding their material. So, Tamara, can you tell me what drawing materials you're using and why?
So I'm using my iPad. I'm using iPad Pro and the Apple Pencil, and I'm using Procreate. But I'm doing something different because I've never tried. So I normally, like, when I do stuff on my iPad, I feel like I work differently than when I do when I just draw from life or I draw with charcoal. So I'm using like this this brush that's called Gloaming, and it's kind of like layered charcoal, which I love. I love this brush. I don't know exactly where I got it, but it's like my favorite thing ever.
Ooh.
But I have to kind of use it as charcoal, but it's still digital, so I have to look at my like line weight, but I also can't really rely on line as much as I would like to. So it's kind of good for me to think in it like without line, because at first I was just drawing with line and I'm like, this isn't gonna work for this. So it'll be fun to see what happens.
Tamara, I need to find the name of this brush. Can you type it into the chat? Because I can tell you I'm not remotely decent at digital work, but one of my big
Yes.
problems is I just didn't like any of the brushes. All the brushes were a little bit too something, and I feel like what you're describing is probably what I need.
So I'll send it to you, and I think I might be able to like share the edit, so I'll send that to you. But I also might have gotten it in like a pack, because one day Owen was like, "Oh, do you want this pack?" and just like downloaded it on my iPad, and I think it's from there. So it could be like from an artist, but I think that I can recreate it if I can look at the stuff for it.
Okay, or you know what, Tamara, if you even want to just draw a couple scribbles, that would be really fun for us to see in the channel if you get a chance to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I use it all the time. I can show you like stuff that I made with it too. I normally use it as a tool with other brushes, of course, but it's so good, and it layers nice.
All right, thanks, Tamara.
No problem.
Lisa, your drawings are rolling in. Tell me how it's going so far, even though we've been drawing for like 5 minutes.
Well, I took our 15-minute time frame to start doing the 2-minute one. So
cool.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I regret is these faces are so cool. I'd really like to spend more time with them.
Yeah. Now, what kind of pencil are you using, Lisa?
Okay. It is I guess it's a pencil. It's a stick of graphite.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Nice.
you know, the ones that they don't have any wood on them?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah.
One thing that I really like in these drawings, Lisa, that you're already doing is you're getting inside the head. Because I do find, especially with the human figure, people get very concerned about the contour of things being very clear cut. So for example, in this drawing on the right-hand side, it's so wonderful the way you pulled out this cheekbone. So even in a 2-minute pose, you were immediately capturing that structure by getting right in there. And then up here, you actually have very little outline. I mean, the hair is barely there, but it's enough. And so I think that is going really, really well. Now, if I go to this page, the marks, the variation is really exciting. I wonder if we can pump that up to almost a ridiculous degree. For example, whatever pace you are drawing at, double it. Let's just see. It's going to feel wild and out of control. What do you think, Lisa?
Okay. I mean, 2 minutes, I thought I was going I wrote, can you read the word crash and burn on one of those?
I love it. Oh
I'm like,
God.
What happened to this guy?
But you know something, Lisa, out of the drawings, these two are my favorite because they do not have the types of marks that one expects to see in a portrait, which is more defined. And here, the rhythms are so all over the place. I mean, this is one of my favorite areas, this cascade of horizontal lines. Whereas I think in these ones, it's great you're drawing light, by the way, but they do feel more controlled. And I sort of like it when you're out of control.
Well, on the ones that are lighter, I always thought, well, okay, you just kind of get a general sense of where things go, and then theoretically you would like maybe switch to a different pencil when you were going to become a little darker or more aggressive, you know, instead of the HB, because there's no darker in this. That's it.
Right.
I've run out of dark on my HBs.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, I do like these as pieces better, but
Yeah.
in terms of what you should be at 2 minutes, I'm not sure. I tend to be a very heavy-handed drawer, so I'm trying not to.
Well,
yeah.
I do think that these drawings feel like they have a different goal than these drawings, and that's fine. There's certainly things you can set as personal goals for, okay, within 2 minutes, I want to be about here. But it's also okay to just do a total U-turn and do something that goes against all of your fundamentals.
Oh, you mean me like I would normally draw?
Exactly.
I totally ignore everything.
Exactly.
Sure. Why not? I got a few more. Oh, I got the 5-minute one. I might have to draw that like I only had 2.
Yeah.
Just to see and switch to, and just go crazy. Those are fun to draw crazy.
They are.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool, Lisa. Let's move on and take a look at Waddleoffer. How's it going so far?
It's different. I had years without doing this, so.
So have you ever done such fast drawings with a portrait before, Waddleoffer?
Not with portraits. That's why it's different.
Yeah, it's a really big change of pace. And I think what a 2-minute drawing does is it really lets you see what you are prioritizing. And that's really worth looking at because there's a lot of things that don't need to be said, even in a 5-minute drawing. So I would say right now, one of my favorite things about what you're doing so far is the figure on the bottom. Do you see the bags under the eyes? Those are so expressive and they give your portrait a lot of character. At the same time, though, you're drawing pupils, which at this stage are not that important. So I would say just forget about it looking like a person. Are you worried about that right now?
Kind of, yes.
So you need to make mush, total mush, so bad that you're embarrassed to post it, mush, because that is the only way you're going to get going. You're thinking too much about eyes, nose, and mouth. The beginning of a portrait, you don't really have time for facial features, but you do have time, like you show in the upper portrait, the cheekbone. Do you see that cheekbone, how important that is?
Yes.
So go for that and forget about likeness. That is the biggest favor all of you can do to yourselves, is to not worry about likeness, because the second you do, it's like the kiss of death. It's like everything's over. All right. Thank you, Waddleoffer. We'll see what you do in a little bit. Okay, let's look at Simple Triskel. How's it going so far?
Well, it's a hot mess.
Awesome.
As it's supposed to be, I'm told.
Yep. Terrific. And by the way, before I move on with Simple Triskel's critique, everybody should move to 5-minute poses now. Phew, got through that 2-minute wreck, which is the case for everybody. Okay, well, why do you think these are hard for you to do right now?
They haven't resolved into anything. And I feel like, well, probably because I'm going to be kind to myself and say it's because I didn't warm up. But they just don't look like anything. And the proportions are just awful.
You got to put that all aside. I'm serious. Forget about proportions. Forget about likeness. The win here for this exercise is you throw down marks on a page. You begin to suggest the presence of a face. That is it. You can't do more than that, even in a 5-minute pose. And I'll tell you, this is my favorite one, which I know you're probably going to think is ridiculous, but it's so much more expressive, Simple Triskel, than the first two.
Yeah, and it's the last one that I did. So I started kind of loosening up, I think, a little bit.
For sure. I think in this one, we're getting a lot more flow throughout the portrait. So for example, do you see this cheekbone on the right, the way it flows downwards into the chin, and then you have this very substantial area of tone that holds that up. So what you're doing well in this one is all the various parts of the portrait, they are flowing into each other. Whereas if we look at this one, things are more separate. And same thing with this one. So I think if I would push anything in your longer poses, is keep moving between those parts. Let them flow into each other as much as you can.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah. And really, Simple Triskel, I'm wondering, why are you worried about proportions?
I mean, I don't completely want it to look like a fun house, you know?
Uh-huh. I think proportions won't come into play until we get to 10-minute poses. I think under that, it's pretty impossible. You can start to shave away at it, but you can't really get something solid until you're into the 10-minute pose range. So for now, with the short poses, don't sweat it.
All right.
Cool. All right. Thank you, Simple Triskel. This is so exciting. Everything's flowing in. Okay. I'm just going to see. I'm going to try to catch up with people. I'll try to keep my comments a little bit more brief. So, Tamara, tell me about these first two portraits you've got.
So that is just me showing what the brush is.
Nice.
But so the first one, I kind of had to figure out how the brush kind of works for this, because if I normally I kind of feel like I feel the face, but if I do that with this pen, it will just make it darker, so I kind of have to be strategic with it. I think that I need to look more at what I'm drawing.
Okay.
I think that's what's happening here, because they look fine, but they don't look like I'm looking, you know? They look like I'm like a face that I would draw.
Well, I'm really glad you brought that up, Tamara, because I think because we do see faces so much, we do oftentimes, whether we're trying to or not, make assumptions about what we think we're seeing, when really it doesn't line up at all with what we're seeing. And so the best piece of advice I would give to you is place more emphasis on these big shapes of tone. Like, I love this luscious black. I love the way you're hinting at the chin. Here on the right hand side, you're going eyes, nose, and mouth. Like, you're not thinking about anything else. And so it's more about emphasis and what you choose to prioritize. And I think it's great that you're catching yourself regarding those maybe visual assumptions you're doing just automatically because you're used to it.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, Tamara, very nice. Let's move on to Emily. How's this going?
I feel like it's going a little bit better now. I did one more 2-minute after this. The last one, I think. How did I post them? The guy with in the picture, he has the tattoos. That was my first one, and I think yeah, and I was getting distracted. I don't know if I used the full 2 minutes, but yeah, I similarly, I guess I feel like the proportions were a little weird, but I do feel it like sort of coming back, like the I don't know, moving, and I don't know. So the first ones are rough, but that's how they're supposed to be. So I'm okay with that. I'm trying to be okay with that.
It's hard because we're such a product-oriented society that it's difficult to focus just on process. But
for sure,
I really like your range of marks. Like this one right here. I think this is the guy with the tattoos.
Yeah, that was the first one.
Yeah, I mean, look at how wide this particular mark is, and it's so suggestive. Like, it just sort of dissolves. And then these marks in the middle, I mean, this looks like you're stabbing somebody with a knife. Like, there's this real, almost violent energy. It's great. But see, that's the kind of personality range you want your drawings to have, because this figure feels softer. They feel more fleshy. And so even though you may feel like this is a mess right now because there's such quick drawings, you are getting the variety in your marks.
Yeah, okay. I think I see what you mean with that.
Yeah.
It's definitely softer. Yeah. This one, you know, I've tried to draw her before. She really, that pose is so difficult.
Yeah.
This last one.
It is. It's very hard.
Yeah. So I don't know what to like her proportion. Something about her, like she always ends up looking sort of clown-like and not. I always feel bad for her when I draw her. I always feel so.
You know something, one of the ways I deal with that when there's just a really awkward, strange pose or somebody's leaning in a funny way, I just let it be weird. I just,
Okay.
because you can't really, quote, normalize a person when they're in this funky pose. Like, I just sort of let it be really over the top. You just embrace that side of it. And while that may not fulfill people's goals to make a, quote, accurate portrait, it does make it really fun, because why would you want to take away those, quote, flaws in a person?
Yeah. Okay. I guess it's my concern is that like they get exaggerated to the point of it not like no longer resembling that person.
Right. Well, the thing I will tell you is I would much prefer see somebody overdoing a portrait, taking it way too far, than making a lukewarm version. Because the lukewarm version to me, it's almost like you're sucking somebody's soul out of them. And so, yes, they might look more accurate, but they don't have that bite of that personality. So overdoing it may feel sort of out of control from your point of view, but it is good practice, I think.
Okay, cool. I posted it didn't upload. I did one more 2-minute, but I'll load it after.
Cool.
Cool.
All right. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm actually going to jump to Ashley because we haven't gotten to Ashley yet, but Chrissy and tomorrow I will come back to you. So Ashley, how's this going so far?
Oh, it's a hot mess.
Great. I'm glad it's a hot mess. You need to be a hot mess in the very beginning.
Yeah, I am really kicking myself for not warming up sometime today. I haven't drawn in probably like a month, not since Mammoth. So I'm just like,
yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so rusty.
You know what though? That's fine. And that has to be that way. And most of us don't draw every day. All those YouTube videos, like, I drew every day for 5 years in a row. Here's what I made. It's like, come on. I mean, I just don't buy that. And I don't even know that that's healthy. And maybe, Ashley, that time away can give you some perspective. For example, I've worked with you before, and I know that when you were in the portraits track, a lot of your drawings were very much about structure, and you're very good at structure. You really see the jawbones. But what I'm excited about, actually, this is very funny, because a lot of people think, oh, portrait is the face, correct? My favorite part of this is the hat. Isn't that fun? Why do you think I like the hat?
Oh, probably because it's like super scribbly and fluid.
Mm-hmm. You know what it is? Sometimes when people are drawing portraits, sometimes the best part of the portrait is the hair. I think because we say, oh, it's the hair, whatever, right? But when we get to the eyes, we go, oh my God, it's the eyes that have to be perfect, right? So we give ourselves a really hard time, and therefore we tighten up when we start drawing facial features. But with the hat, you just went, whatever. And that actually got really good marks out of you.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say something similar to you, as I said to Emily, is embrace the wonkiness. Isn't this the guy with the tattoos?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, his face got a little crazy.
Well, I also think, I don't know if people are noticing, but you start to see other people's interpretations. So, for example, we just saw Emily's version of the guy with the tattoos. And in Emily's piece, there's this almost atmospheric feeling to the way the face is being described. But yours is like carved out of marble. Like there's like chisels in here. And isn't that fun that you can all interpret the same person the same way?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so where to go forward? I want you to really tackle cheekbones because you are putting them there. But I want you to get the cheekbones to move downwards towards the jawbone. Because I think what I'm seeing in all of these, you have the cheekbones, but they don't feel connected to the lower section. I mean, I'm giving you sort of a hard time anatomically, even though this is like a 5-minute pose, but it's more like a lot of anatomy is a mindset. It's like how am I think, like I may not have time to articulate that cheekbone right this second, but I'm thinking about it. That is valuable. All right. Very cool, Ashley. And let's move back up to Chrissy. So Chrissy, how are these going?
Well, they're going. My favorite is actually the middle one on the right.
I was gonna say the same thing.
All I managed to get was her eye sockets and her mouth. But and the shadow under her nose, and I feel like that actually worked.
It does.
The others look kind of cartoony, which is okay too, but they didn't have as dramatic lighting, so I couldn't actually pick shadows as cleanly as I could in that middle one on the right. That one was that was super easy to do.
I mean, Chrissy, it's interesting. I had the exact same reaction that even though the middle portrait on the right has way less detail than, say, the two Ken portraits towards the bottom, that one has the beginnings of a very sculptural look that I think is not happening with the Ken pieces. And I think it's great you're exploring all these different styles, because certainly there is a place for figures that are more stylized, maybe more cartoon-like. But I don't know, this one here, Chrissy, it's sort of haunting me a little bit.
Yeah, she looks like she's singing, really.
Yeah.
Which is kind of cool. But basically, all I could get was the shadow under her chin and the big opening of her mouth and the shadow under her nose and her eye sockets, which is where I try to start. And then I try to build from there. That's basically all I get. Well, that and the hair. That's what I try to do first is get the hair to outline the face, and then the eye sockets and the shadow under the nose and the mouth and the shadow under the chin. And that's kind of where I start.
Yeah. I'm wondering, Chrissy, maybe something we could try is almost a hybrid between the Kens on the bottom and the one of Lori second from the right. I mean, sorry, this one here. Because the thing about the Ken pieces, I do like the line work, but I don't know that you need that much line. I think there's probably parts of the line you don't even need to have being there. Like, let's just say the top of the forehead here. Okay, we've drawn a line from beginning to end. Maybe at some point that line dissolves and disappears. I don't know that you need it that well articulated from beginning to end.
Hold on a second. I'm about to post my first 2 5-minutes.
Oh, okay. Very cool.
October 3, 5 minutes.
Oh, weird. Emily, you can't hear Chrissy? Well, I can hear Chrissy. Strange.
You're not missing much, Emily.
Oh, come on. Oh, this is great. They're all coming in. I hope people are occasionally looking at the chat in between drawings and looking at other people's stuff, because it's incredibly helpful to see how other people are approaching this.
So there they are.
Let's see.
I like the one on the right.
The
The one on the left is a complete mess, but okay, fine, whatever.
I don't know why this preview is so bad. Oh, I really like the one on the right, Chrissy. I don't know. It has so much. Is it pathos? I don't know. It just seems like a really emotional, almost melodramatic face. Like I would imagine that face being in the middle of an opera.
Oh my Lord, Simple Trisco, your stuff is amazing. Those are 5 minutes? Yeesh.
All right, nice. People are pumping it up. And so, Chrissy, I think what you could try is some lines that start thin and then get thick and get thin again, because that is something I'm seeing a lot of your line work, like this ear to the jawbone, to the chin, it's all the same width. So maybe if you can play with those widths, I think that would be good.
Okay.
Cool. All right, Chrissy, thank you. And let's see, let's hop back to Emily. Oh, let me see, who have I not talked to for a little while? Oh, how about Tamara? Because I haven't really seen these more developed pieces. So Tamara, hop on voice. Tell me how these are going.
So I think I'm getting more comfortable with the pen. And I think I'm made a little bit of a breakthrough a little bit with the with drawing Ken. But they're very silly. I don't know. I don't know.
You make it sound like that's a terrible thing. Does that bother you?
That they're silly? Not at all.
Yeah.
I
That's
actually
great.
like it better, even though I still don't think that they look like what I'm drawing. I am taking things from it that are obviously from the like them and kind of caricaturizing them. So I think that's okay.
Oh, it is. It absolutely, because here's the thing. I know sometimes a lot of us feel like, well, I should do this. I should draw this way. Or, oh, it's a portrait drawing class. Therefore, don't do that. Just do what your goal is. Because I've seen your illustrations, and a lot of your illustrations are very humorous, and a lot of your figures are very exaggerated. And so I think you pointing this workshop in your direction is very important. Like, I wouldn't want you to do a bunch of drawings that had no relationship with the rest of your studio practice. And in fact, Tamara, my favorite head, I just love the woman in the lower middle. She's so cool. Like, I don't even know which model that is, but something about her.
It was
really?
The guy with the long hair.
Oh, it's Ed. Oh my gosh. Well, like, the fact that he has no chin and his nose is gigantic. That's actually one of my favorite ones, because I think in some of the other ones you're trying to stick with what you see, which is fine. But this is the one that really shows your voice.
That one, I like that one too, and the one next to it.
Yeah.
And then the one on the other side where he looks like an alien.
Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like these two figures at the bottom, they're talking, and the one on the right is like a big chatterbox, and the one on the left is like, get me out of here. I don't know. You've already created a narrative, even though it's a sheet of faces.
Yeah, that's what I love.
That is great. Awesome. All right, Tamara, I'm going to hop back up to Lisa. So, Lisa, how are the 5-minute poses going?
I guess I'm just not. I like the 2-minute ones better.
That is common. I'm just like you. Once we get to 10 minutes, I'm like, it's way too long. Yeah. All right. Well, what is it that you think is tougher about a 5-minute pose?
That's an interesting question.
Yeah. Because I think for some people, the longer poses can be trickier because you almost feel like, oh, I already did that. So what do I add now? I don't know what to add. Or sometimes what happens is people start repeating themselves. Like, they'll have a mark and then they keep drawing it over and over again, and you're not really adding very much.
I don't know that I did that. I don't.
Oh, I don't think you did. I'm just saying some people feel that way.
Yeah. I don't know what I really. It's kind of like this in-between place. At the first one, it's just, you just blah, 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 and I enjoy the looseness of it. Maybe I get, you start getting a little more precise as you go, because you're going from big to small, but you really haven't gotten enough of the small to have it feel right. Like the guy on the right, he looks like a statue, but he can't, oh, I should do the eyes, So it's just, I think a lot of what I don't like about 5 is sometimes it just feels like it's in between.
Sure.
That's about, I don't know the answer.
Are you
White,
using an
yeah.
eraser for these 5-minute poses?
I did on the left because I wanted to put a shine on her nose.
Sure.
So I thought, why not? Let's try it. Not erasing because I like erasing something I don't want. More like have the fun of erasing something. If that makes sense. Using it as a tool.
I was going to say, Lisa, I really like this cheekbone. And it's funny because it's not that clearly articulated. And actually, the tonal value is very low. There's not a lot of contrast. But I really feel you sculpting that cheekbone really well. And it could be that maybe you could try more of a back and forth with the eraser and the pencil. Now, some people that might bother them because they might feel like, oh, I'm erasing and redrawing. But I don't know, there's something about a drawing that's almost gone through a civil war. Like you can sort of feel that activity in history that it has in the marks. So you might actually try that, like losing the head, bringing it back, losing it again, just as an experiment.
Okay. Sounds like a good one to try.
Very cool. All right, Lisa, thank you. Let's take a look at Emily. Looks like you're popping these out, which is great. How are these going?
So this was my last 2-minute one and it felt better for sure. I really like this guy and his glasses and everything. I don't know. He's just great. And I find it easy to sort of like, once you get those glasses and a bit of and that nose, then the rest just kind of like, that's kind of all you need. And it's a nice reminder of like, for some portraits, there's very little that you actually need to evoke like the person. So that was a nice reminder of that. That one was fun for me.
Awesome.
Yeah. And then I got into 5-minute ones, and I think that was the first one. And I relate a lot to what Lisa was saying. Like, I think the first couple 5-minute ones, I might have just been like, okay, like, you get to like 4 minutes and you're like, all right, well, what else? I don't know. I get impatient suddenly. And it can, so I think that maybe I just need to keep kind of like moving my hand around to different places or stepping back a bit more and looking. I noticed like with I think the last one I did, like, it feels like I sort of got away from bone structure a little too much once I looked at it again. Sorry, not that one, but the final one, I think that I submitted. One. Yeah. Oh, this is weird.
Here we are.
Okay, yeah, they're broken up. Sorry.
No problem.
So yeah, like with this guy, he has so many great features, and he has this like amazing vein, these two veins that join his neck and his head that I wanted to get in, but I kind of got lost in how to do it. And then I just, I don't know, I felt like I was flailing a bit more with this one.
Sure.
So,
all right.
So yeah. And then, yeah, I just found her face really beautiful, but her hair, I was using charcoal and I think I like wiped away her hair on the right side by accident. So, oops.
Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, it's wonderful because, Emily, I see different parts of each portrait that I like. And one of the things I like about this portrait, do you see this like giant chunk of tone? Now, it depends on the reference photo. Not every reference photo is going to have that. But what I think you can start doing in these longer poses is creating like big chunks of tone, because this one has a lot of strokes and it gives it a lot of energy. But do you see how in this part of the face that your lines are breaking up so much that it's hard to get something just nice and flat and substantial?
For sure. Yeah.
So that's why I was attracted to this one, because this has so much weight to it in a way that maybe, well, this one's got it in the neck. Like, you see how the neck is just like, here I am, I'm a big shape, you're going to deal with me. Whereas I think in some of the other ones, like here, it's getting fragmented.
And I think I'm hesitating a lot with that. So it's nice that you say that, because maybe I'll be less hesitant. Like when I see those really dark shadows in the neck and they're big, I feel a little more able to do that, but I'll just try and go for it a bit more.
Throw it down.
And just lay it down. Yeah.
The thing about these drawings to keep in mind, this is for everybody, is that they don't matter. I'm sorry to tell you that. They really don't, because what are you going to do with these drawings after the workshop? I mean, maybe you'll keep them, maybe somebody will post them on Instagram or something, but it's like they're not really that important in the scheme of things. They're more about just being in the moment, thinking about those things, and then you take that experience and you apply it to other pieces. And so the more you can just say, this does not matter, that really helps.
Cool. That's very good advice.
Awesome. All right. Nice work. Let's take a look at Simple Triskel. Oh boy, there's a lot happening here. Simple Triskel. Wow. Something turned on, I think, for you.
Yeah, it's so funny because that first, that's my favorite. He's just got such a cute face. So that turned out, I thought, really well, and I was incredibly happy with that. And it was all, it's all been downhill from there. But yeah, I felt much looser.
Great. First thing I would say is drawing progress is never linear. It's more like a roller coaster, up and down, 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 up, down, down. That's just the way it's going to be. And I think I definitely see a mind shift here. Now, I want to point that out because a lot of people think it's all about, I need to have the skilled hands to do this. But I see a mind shift here in terms of how you're thinking about the portrait. So how did you change your mindset? Or maybe you didn't. I don't know, but I see it.
So I guess because I felt like I had more time, like I was just concentrating on I went bigger, like both the drawing and the shapes. So I went like broad shapes, just used the side of my charcoal, was not aiming for detail. The detail came in way later. And so I put down lines, just like, very random broad lines, and then I kind of narrow them down later. I wasn't too concerned about like getting it right the first time.
Sure.
And I think that helped a lot.
I love this one, Simple Triskel. There's something about the tilt of the head and the way you captured. Actually, I love the mouth. The mouth is so good because it is crisp in the middle. You're very clear about the opening between the lips, but then do you see this like one little area of shadow? Like I can just grab that mouth. That is so well done. It's suggestive, but it's also clear in some areas. And then I also see you opening up the top of the head. It seems like you're not trying hard to like nail it down. You really are letting the head, I guess, breathe a little more in terms of marks.
Yeah, I was really trying to get like the most vital parts.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was going to say the other thing about this portrait that I like is it really does feel like you're prioritizing, like you're making a decision that, guess what, this crease in the cheekbone, in the skin matters more than the cheekbone. So the cheekbone's here for sure, but it's very light and we go straight to this first. So I see that Simple Triskel as you prioritizing what you see in the portrait that's important. All right, very cool. Simple Triskel. Let me head back up and I'm going to take a look at Wattleoffer. So Wattleoffer, get on voice and let me know how these are going.
Hi. Well, I started to use the side of the crayon to just lay it out the tone first, and I think that helped.
Yes. What a difference. Oh my God. When I think about the first drawing that you did, you were trying so hard to make everything recognizable. And you know what's funny? This looks more like a face actually than the first few, which you would think, oh, well, the more detailed drawings should be more recognizable. Actually, no. I mean, this really feels like a three-dimensional form. I mean, it almost looks like it's at a stone or something. The last few, you had a very fragmented look to the portraits. It was like a little here, a little there. This is very solid. So I am thrilled with this progress. Does it feel different than the first few you did?
Yes, it's more freeing and a more interesting process.
It's amazing how thinking abstractly really helps you become a better figurative artist, which doesn't make a lot of sense. Like, a lot of people say, well, this is me. Oh, abstraction, that's not my cup of tea. It doesn't have anything to do with being a figurative artist, but it actually does. And so I think you breaking it down into more simple forms, definitely helping you. And I love the figure in the upper left. Laufer, like, he's really nasty looking. And the figure on the bottom looks quite serene and very calm. Now, I don't know if you do this, but every time I'm drawing from a reference photo, it's like I make up a little story for the person. I don't know if you do that.
Kind of.
Cool. All right. So I think moving forward, I really want to get you going on eye sockets, because right now you're thinking a lot about eyelids, but really the eye socket is more important. So when you're looking at the eye area, try to look first at what's going on around the eye, not the eye itself, which is what most of us are used to doing.
Okay, yes.
Awesome. Okay, everybody, we are moving on to 10-minute poses, and we're going to be drawing for another 45 minutes. Then we'll take a 5-minute break, and the last hour will be for critique. Oh, this is so great to just scroll through. Yeah. Lisa, I'm curious, what are you getting out of seeing other people's portraits?
I just enjoy doing it. You know,
Yeah.
I don't know. The wonkiness is always a lot of the fun of it. You know, just the person. I guess when I look at the portraits, it's personality that comes through for me that I really enjoy. At that point, you try to. I don't care what the original thing looks like. This is just so interesting. Yeah, what I'm looking at. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Lisa, because we've certainly been talking a lot about structure and marks and what to focus on. But I think that the most important thing about a portrait is that it captures personality. And you could argue that, oh, any face has personality, but I guess sometimes people don't try that hard and they get so focused on accuracy and proportions that they leave that behind. But for me, between the two, I'd much rather have personality with wonky anatomy than accurate anatomy and not much personality.
Yeah, that is true. Because you had the accuracy with the photo.
Yep.
So, you know, are you going to become more accurate than that? So, yeah.
Yeah, and I like what you said, Lisa, about how nobody cares what the original reference was. I mean, yeah, we're all here using the same reference photos, but who's going to come up and give you a hard time because, oh man, it doesn't look like that? It's like, we don't care. We just care about the drawing.
True enough.
All right. Ooh, they're coming in. Okay, let's take a look at Ashley just brought in some 5-minute poses. How are you feeling?
I'm starting to feel a little more warmed up.
Good. Yep. It's sort of like, I don't know about you, but every time I got on the treadmill, the first 5 minutes hurt so much. And sometimes it's like 3 minutes in, I'm like, oh, I want to get off. But it's like, you just have to stay on. And then it's like, oh, this actually feels okay now. So I totally feel you on that. Are you using bind charcoal, Ashley?
Yeah, I just switched because I was using a Conte pencil and I couldn't get like those big, large shadows. So I was like, I'm just gonna go to bind charcoal.
Yeah, in general, I don't usually recommend for gestural stuff for people to use anything pencil shaped because it's just hard. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. It's just very difficult to be gestural. Um, I really like this mouth though. Do you see how you're simplifying it and being
Mm-hmm.
much more aggressive with, although at the same time, I like how the nose is barely there. So maybe what I'm reacting to is the weight of the lips. And then by contrast, the nose feeling softer. That's actually, yeah, that's a really nice combination. And I guess I would ask you, Ashley, what are some things, what are qualities you would like your portrait drawings to have?
I definitely want to keep working on getting more loose and not trying to focus on every little shape and capturing likeness. That's something that I still struggle with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, let me ask you this. Why is the likeness so important to you?
I think it's just the way I was taught.
Mm-hmm.
Like we would have to like measure each angle. So like going back and forth and checking the angle for accuracy,
Mm-hmm.
which means that the portrait takes forever to do.
Yes.
So it's hard to unlearn that because I
Yeah.
was like doing that for years.
Right. It's funny you use the word unlearn because I do think sometimes people, especially if you're in like a very intensive learning environment like art school, it's hard to, I guess, walk away from that because it's so drilled into your head. I mean, do you feel like
Mm-hmm.
that is holding you back, or are there parts of that that you still really think are helping you?
No, I think it holds me back from the kind of art that I want to make.
Mm-hmm.
Capturing more feeling and less like this looks so close to the photo or as close as I can get to the photo.
Right.
Which honestly doesn't really invoke much feeling, if any.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that makes sense. I think what you need to do, let's just try this. For the next few drawings, I want you to either draw faster than you want to, or maybe try drawing more across the face. Because I think what I see in the portrait on the left-hand side, like I see these sort of structural lines that you're setting up.
Yep.
And, you know, those are fine for certain ways of drawing, but I think from what you're describing, it doesn't quite line up. So instead, like crisscross through the face. Don't go eyes, nose, mouth. Just go cheekbone up to the forehead, chin into the neck. Like just push, like as if your drawing is a giant pinball machine. The pinball's just going all over the place. Let's just try that and let's see. And I want you to just say these are throwaway drawings. Okay?
Okay.
Woo! Let's
Thank
do
you.
it. Okay. I'm just going through and seeing what people are doing. And how about, I think I missed, let me just scroll back up and see. Okay, I did look at those. All right. So, oh, hey, Emily, something's happening. Tell me on voice because I think you are getting into your groove, Emily.
Thank you. I just kept thinking, just lay it down, and on this one. And I was using crayons so that I couldn't like erase it and just tried to get braver about it. And it felt good. Like anyway, I was trying to just do that one part of what you told me. So, and I think I started to see what you mean about just, anyway, it felt better. It felt good.
That's great.
Yeah, just bigger. And I was having to like really like get sort of physical, like press into it to, I guess do it in the spirit that you that you told me to do it in. So it's not as, I guess I wasn't as focused on likeness, but more on just like where I was looking for opportunities to take that side of the crayon and just make some big marks.
Wow, that is fantastic, Emily. And I think what you're starting to see is that it's all in your mind. Right?
Yeah.
That practice is very helpful, of course. Long term, you want to keep practicing. But it's like when you shift your priorities in terms of, hey, what am I really trying to do? Things can really change dramatically in your drawing. And I think what I see here that I wasn't seeing so much in the others is you're no longer second guessing yourself. That really comes across. Is that more how you're feeling now?
Yeah, it reminded me actually of this time when I was like fairly early into learning violin, and my teacher finally figured out how to get me to like really relax my bow arm and put weight into it. And suddenly I was like 10 times louder. And she was like, whoa, oh my God. It felt kind of like that. It just feels a bit bolder and louder. So it's fun.
Oh, it's wonderful. So I can't believe I'm going to tell you this, but you need to pump it up even more.
Okay, awesome. I will.
Let's just keep doing it. And as we get into these longer poses, don't be afraid to like make a dark mark, like one that's so dark that you think you're going to regret it.
Okay, will do.
Awesome.
I'm excited to regret it.
Yay! That's awesome. All right. Wattleoffer, let's take a look at what's your 5-minute pose. How was this doing the profile, Wattleoffer?
This was interesting because it was like a combination of laying tone and then line because of how bright it is. So it was interesting to mix those.
Yeah. This portrait is not great for lighting. And it's actually a good exercise because you won't always get a reference photo that has beautiful, gorgeous shadows. And I do think profiles are really hard. I think sometimes they can be harder than a 3/4 or front view just because there's less to draw. Did you find that, Wattleoffer?
Yes, I tend to struggle more with profiles because of that.
So this is one where if it were a longer pose, you would want some of the anatomy to kick in. For example, one thing that's very important in a profile is actually the neck. The neck is so critical in a profile because it really keeps the face from feeling rigid. Like, do you see the slight diagonal of the neck? Like, that's really good. You picked up on that. So we have a tilt going on. So I think anywhere you can make the neck a bigger deal is always a good thing. So I would say across the board for everybody, if you've been ignoring those necks, it's time to put them in there because they will actually make your life easier. Like sometimes people say, oh, I don't want to include the neck because that's more work and that's going to be harder. But actually your life is harder if you don't include a lot of it. So I would say Wattleoffer, whenever you can, try to make the neck more prominent.
Okay, great.
Terrific. Okay, let's see. Lisa, how about these two 5-minute poses?
Hey, I actually like these two the best so far. And the guy on the left is just my favorite guy in these entire series. I could draw him like 5 times in a row, you know. So.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah.
He's so cool. And I just love these really scribbly marks around the eyes. I mean, there's something about maybe it's this very thick triangular shape of tone is almost like an anchor that got dropped. And then it let you get a little bit more messy in some areas.
When I see this guy's face, I think caricature. And so I do everything more. Like his head, you know, looks like a peanut and a and a hammer at the same time or something. I don't know. The ears. So I think I just do everything more. And then I can kind of, oh, well, that maybe is a little ridiculous. And I cut, you know, fill it in a smidge. So that spot, I think, was just called to me.
It's great also against the head, which is just barely there.
Yeah.
And I love seeing moments like this. Do you see how here you just stop the line, it's gone, and then it comes back? And I think you can try that in more areas. Like if I go down the nose, I guess you lose it a little bit in the lip, but you'd be surprised. You can get rid of a lot of line and still have enough information.
That's a good point. I don't do that enough.
Most of us don't, because we're trained to think about lines as being what explains the drawing. And so I think a lot of us were like afraid that, oh, if I don't outline that, someone's not going to understand. But they actually can get a lot out of a portrait.
Yeah. People who do negative space with paintings, they're just like masters at it. And I don't think of it when I'm drawing.
Yeah. Negative space. I feel like it's so underrated. Like people just don't know what it's capable of. But then when somebody really uses it, it's awesome.
Yeah. You're just, why do I like this so much? Oh, it's what they didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. It's great. Also, this is sort of contradictory advice because I just told Waddleoffer the opposite, which is the neck structure. It just sort of falls apart in a way. It just sort of goes off and does its own thing. And I sort of love that, even though this one is doing a quote better job of the anatomy. You got a sternocleidomastoid in here. You've got a really good jawbone. But I do like that you have the willingness to almost give up the neck in a way.
Yeah, it just depends on the picture. The guy on the right, I mean, his neck is just so delicious. You want to lick it or something, you know?
Yep.
So.
It's like that dude worked for that sternocleidomastoid. We got to like use it, you know? Awesome. All right, Lisa, thank you. Let's take a look. I think Tamara just posted. Oh, wow. All right. First 10 minutes. Don't worry if you don't post everything. Yeah, if you guys, you know, you're doing all these drawings, you don't have to post everything. Just post the pieces that you think are maybe representative of the experience. So Tamara, let's get you on voice.
So I have a confession.
Yeah.
I kind of stopped setting the timer because I just want to like get into the drawing, you know? So I think the first one on this page might have been slightly longer, but I don't like it as much as the second one.
We'll forgive you. Just this one time.
I'm like, what if it was a little longer and I don't know. It's okay. I started going in with a lighter color at the same time because going on dark wasn't really working for me. I'm having a lot of fun, I think. I like making them very, like, upset. I like to make them very strange. It doesn't always work as well, but I think it's getting a little better. Like, that one's just so creepy.
This one really looks like, you know, one of those like Greek drama masks where their mouths are all saggy and it's got like Medusa hair. I love this one, Tamara.
She's crazy.
She's fantastic.
The girl next to her is really concerned. And they're the same person.
Oh, fantastic. I was going to tell you, Tamara, despite all the drama happening and all the, which I really, really like, this is one of my favorite portraits. And it's a more quiet portrait. It's not as, how should we say, attention-seeking as some of the other ones. But one of the things I like about it is that it balances very delicate, barely there strokes with these very luscious, big strokes of tone. Like, this is one of my favorite parts, is the bags under the eyes, the way this sliver of black is sort of wading through all of that. And so I wonder, as you move forward, even within the context of this workshop, try to think about it in terms of extremes, the ones that are like screaming for our attention and the ones that are almost barely there.
Yeah.
Because I think, well, I think one of the reasons I like this page better, these seem like you're trying harder to explain what the face is doing. These ones, you're just going off the rails. I mean, isn't it fun the way this one scribble of hair is just doing its own thing?
Yeah.
Love
Definitely.
it. So maybe, Tamara, it's a matter of less is more, or maybe you need to add more of the white brush into some of these, because I do find some of the gray in some of them starts to get very similar.
Yeah. Definitely.
Very cool. They almost look like clay to me. Is that just me?
I think they're a little bit like, but I mean, when I was working on the one at the bottom of the page, it kind of reminds me of, you said those masks. I was thinking like a sculpture in some ways, or like one of those, like a clay mask. It was just kind of the same thing that you said. I feel that.
Have you looked at masks before, like ancient historical ones as inspiration?
Not really, no.
Looks like we need to do that.
Yeah.
Actually, what I'm going to be doing, and this is so everybody knows, is during the workshop, I'm going to be writing down resources and images and things that I think people should look up after the workshop, because I have some specific masks tomorrow that I really want you to take a look at from certain cultures. So I'm going to just write this down, masks. So I'll follow up later with some images that you can take a look at.
Nice. Thank you.
All right. Excellent. All right, Chrissy. Awesome. We see quite a few here. What's happening?
I moved to, I think the top 4 are 5 minutes and the bottom 2 are 10 minutes.
Okay.
What I wanted to do in the middle one on the right, more than anything, was capture that wonderful dark background and the negative space of her face against that dark background. So I basically just threw the background and erased her face out of it.
Oh.
Because that was just, it fascinated me, the way the background worked against the color of her skin. With the one to the left of that, the bottom left, what I really loved about that model in that pose was her saggy neck.
Yeah.
And so that's what I really tried to capture, and kind of the wrinkles around her skin and her eye being partly closed. Plus, I have a horrible time with profiles, so I wanted to do at least one absolute profile. The one at the bottom right, I don't know. I got an expression. I got that.
You did. You certainly did.
She's in the middle of explaining something to somebody and not real thrilled about it.
Yep.
So that's what I have.
Well, I really like the one in the lower left corner, Chrissy, because you really captured a feeling of fleshiness. And so much of it's in the neck, but you know something, it's also up here in the wrinkles by the mouth. But this feels very structured. That jawbone is very solid, and same thing with the chin. And I think when I compare it to the other ones, I mean, oddly enough, Ed in the upper right-hand corner, he seems like he's got some fleshiness there as well. But in Sheila's, it's like really palpable. So I love that fleshiness that you're getting in there.
Thank you.
And you go.
Linda's expression is just priceless, and
I know.
I didn't quite get it exactly, but I think I got the emotional essence of it.
Yes. Well, I actually really like how the eyes are a little bit distorted, because it's such a over-the-top facial expression that you almost can't draw it in proportion. And so that's another situation where I tell people, listen, it's already weird looking to begin with. Why not just pump that up even more? So I love what you've done there. Now, I got an idea, Chrissy. This piece here, you said you did black tone down first and then remove the white.
Yeah.
Have you done a portrait where you made a huge blob of black for the entire head and pulled the head out with white?
Not yet. No.
I think it's time.
Okay.
Because let me tell you, Chrissy, this is so beautiful. This edge, the way I can turn around, I think is beautifully done. And you could probably get a similar effect on the left-hand side with the hair. So what you could just do is just draw like or you could just make your canvas black and try that, because that's a very different way of working. And you're clearly getting results from it right now.
Okay, I'll give it a shot.
Awesome. All right, everybody, just so you all know, we have about 20 minutes left in the drawing stage. And so we're going to still do 10-minute poses and keep yourself going, change it up. I mean, if you feel like you're really on a roll and something's working for you, absolutely. But remember, it's okay to take a total U-turn and just do something different, because the whole purpose of this workshop, it's like a sandbox. Let's just play around. I think we need more sandboxes in our lives. Sandboxes, you can learn a lot within them. But while people are working, I'm just going to quickly scroll up. Actually, let's start at the top, because I think that would be really fun to see where people began and to see where we are now, because I think even in a fairly short period of time, like this workshop, you do evolve. You wouldn't think you could, but like I said, with a lot of you shifting your mindset, changing your priorities, things can really change quite a bit. And so I'm thrilled to see how much people have really shifted. I mean, yeah, longer poses, that definitely is a big difference for a lot of people, but it's not everything. Ooh. Oh, Emily, I know this woman. I think this is, I can't remember, is a street photographer. It's a female. Oh, I feel so lame that I can't remember her name. Anyway, it's probably somewhere on the website page. So Emily, hop on voice. Let's talk about this. Let's see. I think, Emily, we might have lost you in the stream. Okay, I'll just wait for you to come back, Emily. I'll just type to you in the chat so you know. I think I need to add you back to the stream. Let's try that. Maybe. Oh, I see. You are down here. There you are. Can you hear me, Emily?
Hi. Sorry, I had to switch devices.
Oh, I think your mic is funky. You sound like a creature in a horror movie.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I think your audio is funky. Let's see. I think
How's it
your
now?
mic. Yeah, it's still pretty bad.
Oh, okay, because you sound better. I had to switch devices and
Oh.
I hope the headset is going to be better.
Okay. Well, do you want to leave and come back? Because something's funky with your mic.
Sure.
Okay. No problem. I'm sort of amazed that the tech is, well, it was hard in the beginning because my laptop decided to magically shut down, but it seems like it's working now. I think the key to this is I have to borrow my kid's laptop, which of course she's not very happy about, but that's okay. We'll survive. So actually, let me write down tomorrow some of those masks that I want you to take a look at. The Japanese masks from the No period are terrific. And I would also say the Greek drama masks are also really great to look at. The thing I really like about Japanese masks is that they're just really evil. I don't know. It's like there's something about those demons. They look so mean. And I don't know what it is about the exaggeration that they did, but something about the way they pulled that off. And then the ones from the No period, especially, there's some very simple ones, but they're very creepy. So take a look at those. All right, Emily, I'm adding you to the stream. Let's see if this works. So Emily, I can hear your mic, I think.
Oh, sorry. Okay. Do I sound more normal now?
No, sorry. Your mic is still funky.
Oh, no. Okay.
Oh, sorry.
No worries. 1 second.
Okay.
Any better? I guess not.
I mean, worst case scenario, Emily, you can type to me in the channel.
Myself.
All right. Tech stuff happens, everybody. So don't worry about that. It's inevitable. All right. I'm trying to think, there was another set of masks. Oh, I think I know. Okay, so Tamara, I don't know if you are familiar with the ancient Greek Hellenistic period. Look up all of the agony, especially in Laocoon, I don't know how to pronounce that, and his sons. Poor dude, his kids were murdered by these gigantic snakes. Stinks to be him. Okay, so Emily did not feel good about this one, but posted it anyway. That's fine. You guys shouldn't feel good about these. You really shouldn't. I know sometimes it can feel crummy, but it's part of the process. And really, we have to be okay with it, because if we're not okay with it, we're going to be totally miserable. Okay, Lisa, let's talk about your kids.
Hey. Or you mean my 30-year-olds?
Yeah, exactly. I love that. Cool.
They always look like, I mean, sometimes they get into their 50s in the drawings, I guess.
Yeah.
I got the nose better. I finally started giving kids little kid noses.
Mm-hmm.
But I can't seem to get away from I don't know. I think that I don't put the face where it's supposed to be. I think I put the face where an adult's face is. And I don't know.
I can tell you that people who are younger, little kids, babies, and they are so hard to draw well. I feel like they either become aliens or like a little old man when they're supposed to be like a tot. Like, I don't know, something about their proportions are so bizarre, and they're very hard to capture well. Like, I have to say, the one artist who I think really was good at drawing toddlers and babies was Mary Cassatt, without it being syrupy and over sentimental, which you do see. She really knew how to capture those faces.
Yeah. And their plump little arms and the little elbow dimples and just every bit of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and she's so underrated because people lump her obviously with the Impressionists, and it just bums me out that everybody's like Renoir, Monet, and those guys are fine, but she was really good at what she did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was.
All right, let's look at the accessories on the right. You are not intimidated by eyeglasses, Lisa.
I love eyeglasses.
Most people are terrified to draw glasses, or they try to draw it and they think they have to outline every single thing. But what I like about your glasses is on the right-hand side, it's lighter, and then you have heavier lines on the left-hand side.
Yeah, that was intentional.
It's great.
Yeah. And I made them into cat glasses because she needed cat glasses.
Yeah, she does. She's great. So one thing we can work on, the kid on the left-hand side, is maybe some more variety in the hair so that the hair isn't all lines, because you've got great lines. I'm not saying change anything about the lines, but I think the issue with hair is in our heads, we say, oh, it's a bunch of lines of hair, right? Because they're individual hairs, but it's not really like that. And actually hair has a lot more mass than we think it does. So you might try some bigger, chunkier strokes in the hair when you can.
I did that, but I did that with the HB.
Oh, that'll do it.
And when I changed over, it just dominated too much with the whatever it was. Yeah.
Well, you can always go back and forth, and I do think a lot of drawing is like that. It's like you tilt this way, you tilt that way, and you keep rocking around until you find the sweet spot.
Sure. Yeah. At 20 minutes, you definitely would have.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thank you, Lisa. Let's see what else is coming in here. All right. Simple Triskel, how's it going?
Sorry, I lost my mute button there for a minute.
No worries.
Yeah, it's going. I still like my 5 minutes better.
I know that happens to me all the time, but oh my gosh, these have a fleshiness now that I don't think was as prominent in the 5-minute poses. What do you think?
No, I don't think so, because I went harder with shadows, so more shadow variation, I think, here. So I got to go over it a couple more times and add some depth. And I think that really helped with sort of the fleshiness and the dimension.
Definitely. I mean, this is so soft. Like, do you see this very, very thin passive tone at the back of the head? I mean, it's barely there, but I totally can feel the skull. So this is a fascinating area, Simple Triskel, because I think a lot of people think about bony parts as, oh, you have to define them, to be articulated, but you are suggesting the presence of a skull here, and that's fantastic.
Thanks. Yeah, it was hard because his hair is very light, so I was like, I want to like sort of indicate his hair, especially because it's got such a cool shape to it. But yeah, I didn't know quite how to do that, so there we are.
The other thing I'm noticing too, this is the darkest I've seen you get so far today.
Yeah.
Which I think is really great, because although I will say, I like that you stay light as long as you do, because a lot of people are very anxious to, buckle down, get the details. And I can see you prolonging that period of meandering and light sketching. And that's a very valuable skill. On the other hand, oh boy, this is a luscious nose. I think that's great. So maybe doesn't even, I mean, we're almost out of time right now as far as finishing up. We got about 10 more minutes left. Is letting yourself go dark in a couple areas, because I think some of us don't really know how dark our tools can get. So what you could try is maybe just on a scrap sheet of paper, press as hard as you possibly can so you can see, oh, wow, that is how dark I can really get. And then try to use that in a portrait at some point.
Yeah, get the full range.
Exactly. Because actually, is this Lori that you're drawing here?
I don't remember.
Anyway, it looks like Lori.
So. I think so. Well, that's good. Then it was.
Well, so the thing about Lori's photos is that her hair is dyed black. And so it's way darker than, like I have sort of darkish brown hair. I don't have like pure black like she does. And so if you look at the portraits of Lori, the stark value contrast between her like black hair and her fair skin, it's very dramatic. And so it might be fun. We have time for you to do one more. Try another one of Lori and like press hard to make that hair black.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that was her. And I did not get as dark. Like I don't know. I felt like I could have had several more passes there and really gotten some good contrast in there. Awesome. Yeah, I'll give that a try.
Yeah, I'd love to see that because her hair, it's so distinctive. I feel like the darkness of her hair, it's like yelling at you. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's just so dramatic that it might be fun just to see what you do with that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you.
All right. Nice. And Ashley, we got some portraits with, whoa, so much tone. Yes.
Yeah, I feel like I'm more warmed up now.
Definitely. Absolutely. I mean, you are getting way more aggressive. And I think your strokes, they almost have a coarseness to them, which I really like. And you know something, it's serving you very well because you are very good at planes on the face. That's something a lot of people have trouble seeing. But do you see how this is a plane? This is a plane. This is a plane. And when you throw them down like that so aggressively, it makes for a very dramatic form. I think it's happening better in the figure on the left. I think in the right here, you are loving those wrinkles. Maybe a little too much. I mean, I get you. Ken's got amazing wrinkles. But I just really respond to like these big chunks that are in the forehead. Again, I love the hat, the big dramatic cast shadow on the neck. And, you know, in a longer pose, certainly we could resolve some of that stuff in the portrait on the right. But the thing is, Ashley, you do so well when you decide to do well. I don't know if that makes any sense.
I love that.
Well, because I think that sometimes feeling timid, it's almost like we're shooting ourselves in the foot because we're already sort of worried and maybe walking on eggshells a little bit. But I think for you, it's all about your mindset, your approach to drawing. Do you think that's accurate or am I way off?
No, that's 100% accurate. It is my mindset that holds me back every time.
Well, why do you think that is? Do you think it's feeling rusty or are you worried about the results or?
Yeah, I think I'm too result driven. And I carry that over, which serves me well in my job, but not so much in my art.
I feel like we need to make you draw with like a brick or something. Something that's just so ridiculously shaped that you have no choice but to draw with your hands tied behind your back. I don't know, something, because you're almost too good at the structure of the portrait that I think you have trouble letting go of that sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
And you know something, I would take that as a good thing, that we know it's not a matter of, oh, your hands are not sensitive enough or you're holding this poorly or whatever. It's all in your head. And so what you can tell yourself is, you know what, I can take control of this. And I don't know, maybe this is from some bad motivational book or something. I just came up with this myself. But when I start drawing, like, I'm not kidding, I say to myself, you kick butt, go and get out there. And, you know, it's probably like I used to play volleyball and our coach would say that to us, get out there and kick butt. And I don't know, it's like we have to somehow put you in that mindset because once you're there, you do great.
Yeah.
And we can see that in this very short period of time that you've already gotten there. It's just, can we get there sooner? So it happens not immediately, but so that it becomes more of a priority early on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
All right. Very cool, everybody. We are now going to take a 5-minute break. So everybody go do your thing. You can hang out in the chat. Love to hear from people about how they're feeling. Are you exhausted? Can you skip the gym today because you came to the drawing workshop? And I will be back in a few minutes. All right, everybody. Back soon. Oh, okay. Emily, you restarted your phone. Do you want to come on voice and let's check and see if it's better?
Hi. Is that better?
Yeah. No.
Oh,
Sorry.
God.
Bummer.
Still, really?
Yeah, it's still bad. Sorry.
Okay, I will try one more alternative.
Okay. Bummer.
Right now. All right.
So Emily, I'm just gonna type this into the chat. Worst case scenario, you can type stuff here in the channel. Yeah, that tech stuff is just such a pain in the butt, and there's so many freaking devices, and oh boy, it's a lot to keep track of. So actually, one person, oh shoot, these are all my kids' bookmarks. All right, I'm gonna try. Let's get to the main site, artprof.org. So probably some of you have not had a chance to take a look at this, but we do have the expressive drawing track, which is new. And the lesson that I think is actually quite related is lesson 2. And this would be good for those of you who are trying to maybe loosen up a little bit more, is drawing a portrait based on the sensory experience of touching your face. And that can be a really fun thing to do, because you basically have to draw a wonky, exaggerated face. And I guess this is a little deep, but I was doing these, I was like, who am I drawing? And some people online said they thought it looked like a death mask. I mean, they're definitely creepy, which could just be me. I'm sure you can do this prompt without it being creepy. But I'm just going to drop this into the chat because it's a pretty interesting way to loosen up. I guess I call these touch portraits. All right, let's get this in there. All right, Waddleoffer. Oh my gosh. Wow, these are really coming along. Oh, I'm so excited. We're going to chat about everybody's stuff in a minute. Lisa's knocking off yours. I love that. So I'm curious. You can all tell me in the chat, who here is tired? I bet you are. Every time I draw, I'm always tired. My arm hurts. But you know something? It means you're doing a great job. It means that you are really engaging. And I do think that drawing is a physical act. You have to move for that to happen. Okay, Emily, we're gonna try one more audio option. You poor thing. Oh my goodness. Ooh, I like the, whoa, Chrissy. Oh, that's so exciting. Oh my God. Wow. Oh, this is so cool. Ooh, Ashley is taking no prisoners. Great. This is fantastic. All right, we have some coming in from Tamara. I see you are loving Ed's hair. His hair is growing a little bit from the reference photo, which is fantastic. Okay, I'm just making my list so we can get started with the critique. All right, just making sure I got everybody on my list. All right, everybody, we are back. This is now the critique portion of the workshop. And what we're going to do is each of you will jump on voice, and we're just going to talk about your experience with these drawings. I'll do some critique as well. So how about we start out with Chrissy? I'm going to search for your images here on the right, so it's easier for me to consolidate your work. Okay, hang on. Has image in, let's see. Okay, in workshop test. Okay, so here are all your images here, Chrissy. Oh, good, I can preview them like this. Okay, so I'm going to pull a whole bunch of these up so we can take a look at them all together. All right, let me see if I got everything. All right, so Chrissy, let's start with you and tell me overall what this experience was like.
Well, it was different. It was not what I expected.
Yeah, how so?
Well, I'm not sure. I'll probably need some time to figure out how very different it was. I certainly did not expect to be drawing by erasing from a black background. Which with Lori, I thought it came out really cool. With Sheila, not so much. But I think I was just getting tired. The one of Lori came out. I just really liked that. Interesting thing. Where I was hoping to get with this was toward quick gestures that I could then go back and ink in some detail for comics purposes, and I don't know if I got there. But I think some of them at least had that potential.
Sure.
And I in the second 6 that I did, I think there are at least some of those there that I have most of the features at least in the right, zip code.
Love it.
Which is really what I'm trying to get to, is to be able to throw down a 10-minute facial gesture and it be something that, for example, my comic writer or an editor could look at and go, oh, okay, that's so-and-so smiling.
I see.
I'm not quite there yet, but I feel like I'm closer than I was. and I certainly enjoyed the experience of it. More and more, you've convinced me to work in tone, and I find it hard to get from tone back to line, if that makes any sense. And I would like to be able to throw a quick tonal gesture down that I could then go back and ink, and I'm not there yet, but I think I'm getting toward there. Turns out a 10-minute face is just plain hard.
It's really hard. This is why nobody does gestural portraits, because it's very hard to get results that people feel are getting all of the points that they're trying to get across in a portrait. And I think you're absolutely on the right track, Chrissy. And I really think this one here was a breakthrough. I think adding that negative space helped you contextualize the value range on the face. And really, this face does not have a lot of detail, Chrissy. It's got way less detail than this one of Sarah on the left-hand side. And with the exception of the chin, I think the facial features feel quite flat compared to, say, this beautiful eye socket that you've got here. So it could be, maybe you need to hold off on details longer.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite of the ones I did was actually a 2-minute one, and it was the one that it looks like she's singing.
This one.
Yeah, the middle on the right. That I feel like I could use for a quick, okay, I know where this person is going to be in the panel, and I know what their facial expression is.
Yeah.
And it has the least detail of any of them.
Absolutely.
And,
but by the way, everybody, I forgot to mention, but during the critique session, it would be wonderful for people to type comments to the person whose work we're looking at. Just make sure you tag them, because it's impossible to read and talk to me on voice at the same time. That way, after the workshop's over, people can scroll back and look at those comments. Anyway, I think, Chrissy, maybe it's like you're jumping the gun on the details, and you have to let your figures be at this vague tonal stage for longer.
Yeah. And maybe even just, for gesture purposes, leave it there.
Yeah.
I can fill in the facial details when I come back to do inking and, all of that, but just getting the facial features in the right places. And I did that with her with no detail at all. Her face looks very solid to me.
It does. And I also think, Chrissy, this one has a lot of emotion. And you wouldn't think that a portrait that has so little detail could capture that. But I think this one does that. I think in some of the other ones, like, for example, this one of Ken, things are almost too well defined early on. And so what ends up happening is that I think a lot of the lines, they start to fragment. They don't flow as much. Whereas I think in some of these other ones, look at how the hair flows into the neck and then goes right into the clothing. And I think if I look at the Ken drawings, things feel more separate on the face.
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's Ken.
I think it is. Anyway.
There's a bald guy. Oh, Ed is the bald guy. Okay, yeah. I can't remember who's who.
Yeah, no problem.
But anyway, I enjoyed the experience, and I think I learned some things about just backing away from detail and just think about where the shadows fall.
Yes.
Because really that's all I need in order to get a quick gesture down for purposes of a thumbnail. I mean, this is basically a facial thumbnail, and nobody teaches that. No one teaches how to thumbnail a face. And unfortunately, if you draw comics, you have to do a lot of faces.
Yep.
And this this sort of was a breakthrough for me in terms of just stick with tone and we can get back to the line and the details and all of that when it comes time to ink or whatever. But for purposes of this, just get a face with shadows.
And Chrissy, I think we need more of these black canvas drawings, because that portrait of Lori, the one at the top, it has such a different quality than your other pieces. And look at the way that hair on top of the ear is just coming out of that darkness. I mean, Caravaggio would be so proud of you. I think it's fantastic. And I want to see more of these, because you like just started doing it at the end and you are hitting onto something here.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Chrissy. Very exciting. Let's move on. And how about let's take a look at Waterloffer. Let's look at you next. So let me pull up your stuff. Hopefully I can just come in here and change this. Oh, yes, I can. Good. Okay, so Waterloffer, let's get your stuff up. Okay, wow, this is really convenient. Excellent. And thank you, everybody. We've got some wonderful comments from other people on Chrissy's work. Keep those comments coming. They are incredibly helpful. Okay, so let's get these pulled up. So Waterloffer, can you tell me briefly how this experience was for you?
It was really different and interesting. I really liked it, mainly because it made me focus on tone, which I don't do very often. I always concentrate on lines, but it made me realize that with tone, things look more, I don't know, touchable. I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
So I like that.
I think what you'll notice about the more tonal pieces, it's almost like they have more weight. It's almost like if you look at a drawing that has line only, like let's go back to some of the first ones, things start to almost separate with the face. It's sort of similar to what I was talking to Chrissy about, that you know, you're articulating individual pieces like mouth here, nose here, but they don't connect. And I think that's what tone just naturally does that. It'll just do that automatically without you even trying that hard. And do you see how in this portrait, Waterloffer, it's very cohesive, like it looks like one chunk of a face, whereas in some of the other ones you start to really feel the separation.
Yes.
And I'm curious, Waterloffer, what do you want your portraits to be like? Do you have any personal goals with portraiture and maybe how it fits? I know you do a lot of illustration work.
I want to focus on making portraits that are expressive, that are a little bit stylized in a way. That's what I like. I want to do more with portraits.
Terrific. Well, this one came in towards the end. I don't think I had a chance to talk about it, but let me tell you, these eyes are wonderful. They're so penetrating. I mean, this guy's like looking into my soul. Like he's just very intense. But also, do you see how you really have, I've used this word before, chiseled the planes? Like they feel very solid. On the other hand, look at how fluid this person is. I mean, she almost feels sort of loose and fluid. Like she doesn't seem as, I guess, chiseled as maybe say this person does. But to me, that's you reacting to the person. Do you think?
Yes, I feel that way when I look at different faces. It was like when you were saying making a story of the person.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to do that, but I translate it to how I express it with the drawing, I think.
I think you can certainly push that even more to the point that it's almost a caricature. I know that I would never have tried something like that in art school. I was really conservative. I wanted it to look just like the reference photo. But do you see how in this portrait, the mouth is sort of lopsided and the cheek here is sort of like it's very flawed in a way compared to this portrait, which is just really chunky and solid. But that's actually what I like about this piece, is that she does almost feel like she's falling apart towards the bottom. And Waterloffer, it does seem like you got more confident. I mean, these are the early ones. And do you see how you're more efficient? It seems like you're putting things down more quickly. Did you feel that as you were drawing?
Yes. It was really different when I started laying down the tones and the planes.
Mm-hmm.
It made it easier in a way.
Yeah. I mean, I have to say, Waterloffer, you picked it up very fast. It's amazing to me that you started here, and then by the end of the workshop, you were drawing like this. And so you definitely absorbed a very different way of working. And I think for you, this is the beginning. My next step for you would be to say, push that distortion even more. Make her face longer than you think it should. Because you know something, I think when a lot of people go into portrait drawing and they have accuracy as the goal, it severely limits you in terms of what you can do. Because you end up saying, oh, I can't do that, because if I do that, it won't be accurate. And I think you've done a nice job of hitting certain points of the face that are important to you, but you also are okay letting go sometimes.
Yes.
Well, I'm very excited. I would also say the next thing for you to tackle would be hair. I think hair is so much trickier than it looks, and to start working on texture in the hair. I mean, this hair, for example, is fairly straight. It's sort of flowy, but I think definitely for somebody like this, his hair has a texture, it has a form to it, and texture is hard. Like the hat probably has a texture, and that will help you in illustration as well.
Yes, I tend to struggle a lot with texture, so I have to practice more.
Well, do you think it's because you're not thinking about it, or because you just naturally draw things more smoothly?
I think it's both those things.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I often see the texture, but I don't know how to translate it into drawing. Mm-hmm. So it's hard for me.
I think, Waterloffer, we need you to draw like a bunch of cactuses. We need to make you draw something that's so ridiculously about texture that you can't get away with not drawing it. Something really extreme. Because I think with hair, it is easy to slide into the hair looking more fluid because it doesn't look terrible, but it also isn't as exciting as it could be. So I definitely think hair would be a good thing for you to focus on in your portraits in the future.
Right. Makes sense.
All right. Nice to see all this work, Waterloffer. Thank you. Let's see who's going on next. All right, we just looked at Waterloffer. So how about let's look at Tamara. How about you go next? So Tamara, tell me what this was like.
Well, it was pretty challenging because I tend to simplify the face like a ton in my art. So it was really nice for me to play around with it, especially because I don't really play around with it very much. And
Oh,
it was
okay.
also cool to see how to like use the iPad and make gestural art like this.
That's something you've never done before?
Yeah, not really. No, I don't really do a lot of. I do a lot of quick sketches, like with pencil sometimes, and I'm like, if I go do figure drawing, I always do it with like charcoal or something. So it was nice to actually use the thing that I make a lot of my art on.
That's really interesting that in the past, your work has almost been divided based on the subject and the media. Is that accurate, or am I way off?
No, it's like super true. It kind of feels that way because then I also do my ink thing, and that's also like a separate thing in a way. And I like use all the stuff together. Like they don't feel separate, but they are very separate.
Well, I mean, I was going to tell you that some of these earlier pieces, these really look like ink wash sketches to me. Have you done ink wash very much?
Yeah, I love ink wash. It's like one of my favorite things.
I can tell. I mean, these have such a loose painterly quality, but then of course you also have a very sculptural look to a lot of these at the same time. So you're capturing quite a few things. Let's talk about these two because these came in towards the end. And a reminder to everybody, type your comments to Tamara in the chat so we can get a wide range of comments. So how did these two go, Tamara?
I thought that they went okay. I feel like I was getting tired towards the end of it.
Of course.
But I think that it was hard for me because I felt like I had too much time now for these. And the more I could work on them, the more accurate I can make the face, but also less fun faces. So it's hard to know when like you're doing too much or too less.
So one thing that obviously I was pushing people during the workshop was to have a quick pace, quicker than maybe what you're comfortable with. And of course, when it's a 2-minute pose, we all go, let's work as fast as we can. But I wonder, have you ever tried really slowing down to the point where it's almost ridiculous? Because I'm the type of person, I just naturally draw fast. But you know, it's funny, when I got into watercolor, that's what saved me, was painting really slow. Have you ever tried that?
It depends on what I'm working on, because sometimes I like do it in waves and it takes forever for no reason. Especially like my ink drawings, because it dries like kind of shiny, so I tend to have to wait. And I hate it. I hate it. I draw so fast. Like in my sketchbook or whatever, I draw so fast, and I tend to like those more. So, but also like my full sketches in my on my iPad tend to take forever too. But I also tend to like overwork them sometimes, so I think it's okay.
I mean, it's a balance between when is the time to walk away. It's very challenging. I would say between these, I'd love to see some of these strokes in here. Maybe experiment with making them just a hair rounder. I know that sounds like really, really picky, but here's the thing. With cross-hatching, I do find that most of the time when people cross-hatch, it's usually straight lines, which is fine. I mean, that works great. But if you give your cross-hatched marks a little bit of a curve, it's such a game changer, especially with the human figure where things are fleshy and very organic. And I think it might be worth trying because these, I feel, are almost stuck onto the face. They don't flow into the face the way I think, let's say, some of these strokes do. Like this one shows sort of like the fold of the wrinkles, and so that sort of sinks in more. Or even, ooh, I like this stroke. This is like a little, I don't know, it's sort of out of nowhere, but I sort of love it.
I kind of put that in like myself because I thought he looked really sad, like maybe he has like a little like vein popping out.
Oh, so that wasn't even in the reference photo?
No.
I
think there was something kind of there, and then I was like, oh, I'm gonna do this.
That's great. And I think that's a really good example that really the reference photo is just a place to start. And then you take it where you want it to go and you make it your own. I mean, Ed has such a round nose here, but it's like, I don't even think about this drawing as being Ed anymore. Like it's some other dude. And I guess Ed was there at some point, but Ed has left the room. And now we have this other guy here. So I think one thing you've done so well is the willingness to transform and to throw in something just for fun, which for a lot of people is very hard. So I love seeing that play that you're adding into all these pieces.
Thank you.
Let's go back and briefly review these other ones. I just love these strokes. I would love to see you do more of these in this figure. I mean, this almost looks like you have a dip pen with a super, super sharp tip. And do you use?
Yeah, I use dip pen. I normally just use it like by itself though. And sometimes that's not true. I also do it with watercolor, but.
Mm-hmm. I want more of these. These are really beautiful marks. And you know something? I don't want them everywhere. I think just a couple key points where you want more emphasis, like this crease next to the nose. That's a pretty...
Uh-oh. I can't hear you anymore.
Oh, did I leave?
That was weird.
Can you still hear me? I can hear you.
Now I can hear you. For I couldn't, you cut off and then you came back.
Okay, well, I'm back now.
Okay.
So cool. All right. Great to see your work tomorrow. And everybody keep those comments coming. It is so fun to hear different points of view from everybody. Okay, Emily, let's try. Let's see if your voice is better. It's fine. People are going to have audio glitches during the workshop. It's going to happen. So we might as well demonstrate that it's okay.
Okay, how do I sound?
Yay! You sound great! Woohoo! All right.
Oh, okay, awesome. Admittedly, I did lose a bit of drawing time trying to troubleshoot that.
Sorry.
So no, I mean, it happens. But it actually gave me a little bit of time to reflect while I was finagling with devices, and I threw down one last really quick one at the end, the guy with a pipe. So
right. All right, let me just pull up all of these so we get back to, wow, you did a lot of drawings, Emily. Oh my goodness.
Oh, now I can't hear you. You cut out the, there you go. Now I can hear you.
Oh, you know, this is my watch.
Oh.
Okay.
Sorry about the orientation. No, the later ones have correct orientation.
Okay,
that's the last one I did.
With the last one, tell me how you feel about this one.
So I don't know how long I took with this one. It was a 10-minute, but I probably did it in a lot. I definitely didn't take the full 10 minutes. I was still looking for opportunities to lay down heavy marks.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the one I'd done just before that, the woman with the kind of that one, mm-hmm. I kind of struggled because I felt okay, well, her face is there were a few areas that I found opportunities to do that, but I started mm-hmm. to wonder when you have someone without very many shadows on their face and without very many, and maybe they're fairly young or their skin is fairly smooth, it's a little harder to find opportunities. And I think I started getting in my head about well, what if I'm just making up places to do that? I think I know what you'd say to that, but
what?
It's just make it up then. That's fine.
Yeah.
But I think I started to get in my head a bit in that one about like, well, what if there's nowhere to make those big heavy marks? And so then when it got to the guy with the pipe, I felt a little more comfortable.
Yeah.
Because he had a bit more of that, just like, you know, he had these deep set eyes and some, like the hat had some shadows, and I don't know, I just felt more comfortable with like how, maybe because he was older looking and had more shadows. But I do wonder what you would say about like, you know, there's this advice to make these big, bold, heavy marks, but it's hard to find opportunities for that in some types of faces, I think.
It is. It's so different to draw somebody who's really smooth, has almost no wrinkles, versus somebody like this who has many wrinkles in the texture of the hat. And I think obviously this is a workshop, so you were assigned these reference photos, but I think you've taught yourself something about what you enjoy drawing.
Yeah.
I think you really like drawing these figures that have more wrinkles, and you've got some beautiful lines. Like, I am just dying over this very crisp stroke that turns into this big, I guess, fluffy area of black. And I just see you loving these wrinkles and the tension. Yeah. What do you love about them? I'm curious. I mean, I love them too. So I'd just like to hear from you.
I think it's the sort of, I don't know, it's the kind of like valleys of the face, and you know, whatever expression someone is making, these lines are going to react to it in a way.
Yeah.
And so it's a way of kind of amplifying whatever it does. It sort of amplifies or reinforces whatever expression they're making, even if they're seemingly expressionless, then it's, you know, it's there too. So I guess that's what I like about it.
Well, I think you're figuring out by explaining that to yourself what it is you like about certain portraits, because ultimately when you make your own personal work, you're going to be the one making the choices about reference photos. And there's some reference photos I looked at, I'm like, I'm not using that. That is not going to work for me. And it's not necessarily because it's a bad photo. I'm just like, I'm not interested in that. So I think it's really great that you articulated that out loud.
Cool. I guess I don't want to feel like limited to that though. So it'll be a matter of like trying to find ways to enjoy other kinds too, I think, I don't know. Yeah, because I do feel in some ways it's what I enjoy, but in other ways it's like what I'm comfortable with. So I still want to maybe find ways to get comfortable with more than just very weathered faces in shadows.
Right. I can feel that. But another part of me says, maybe you don't need to bother. Because, I mean, it's tricky because I do agree people should step outside of their comfort zone. But if you have like no interest, like I've had people actually say to me, oh, well, shouldn't I learn anatomy? And I'm like, well, do you really want to make figurative work? They're like, no, but I figured I should. I'm like, don't learn it. Okay. It's not a good investment of your time. So there are certain things you can just say, I don't need to learn that. And that's fine. Okay. But it's good you have that open mindset, because I know a lot of people who are very tunnel vision, like they won't even try it. And I'm like, just once, okay, just try it.
Yeah.
But another thing, Emily, I was going to say that I really like about this piece is you are now drawing through the head and the clothing. Let me explain this because it can be very confusing. But when I look at these earlier pieces, we mentioned this in a lot of people's work. Do you see how the mouth, it's almost like it's floating above the face? And if we look at, I mean, granted, these are really fast, but do you see how things are almost more, it's almost like territorial. It's like, this is my spot and I'm not going to travel anywhere else. And in this one, everything is traveling into everything. Like I'm looking at this stroke. And do you see how the stroke, it like points towards the
Right.
hat?
Yeah.
And you're becoming very conscious of the direction of your strokes. Even this one that I thought was a really big improvement, you can see your strokes tend to go in similar directions.
Right.
And this one, they're going everywhere.
Right. Yeah, I do see that. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, because in some of the other ones, they look flatter and almost as if like it's a snowman head and you've stuck on the eye where it should go and stuff. But and so that comes from just a lot of directions.
A lot
you're
of
saying?
directions.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, look at the clothing. You're going,
Yeah.
You're like, you go in all these different directions. And because you're going different directions, it makes the head more cohesive. Because oftentimes you'll see portraits where people just stroke in the same direction. And number one, it's boring. And number two, that's not really what skin does on a face.
Right. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
That's an awful lot of progress, Emily, in a very short period of time. I mean, that's why I like doing the reviews at the end, because when you are in the midst of the drawing, you're in the trenches, it does feel like a mess. But do you see there is a logic to how you push yourself?
I see it now that you've just shown them in sequence. I do. It makes me want to do a lot more.
Yeah,
so
you should. I mean, I think you gathered a lot from this experience, and I think you'll know moving ahead, okay, this is what I like. This is what I really want to spend my time on, and that's valuable.
For sure. Yeah.
Great. All right. Thank you, Emily.
Thank you.
Let's get Simple Triskel onto voice. So I'm just going to pull up all your stuff. And while I'm pulling up your images, Simple Triskel, just tell me what this experience was like. I know you had said you were feeling a little rusty.
I was, yeah. I haven't really done a whole lot of sketching for quite a while. And it was really nice to kind of get back into it. You know, it always kind of starts out looking like a 5-year-old did it.
Oh, come on.
So it was really nice to get past that. You know, I'm not always inclined to really sit down and draw for a long time. And so having this amount of time and then like getting feedback and sort of live input so I could kind of focus on things more. It was just really helpful in getting more comfortable with it, you know, and recognizing that, like, yeah, just because it's not good to start out with doesn't mean, you know, you can't, you don't improve as you kind of loosen up. So.
Oh, you're definitely, I just look at the sequence. I mean, if I put them in order, do you see how much your mark is like this one, I think, was almost a milestone for you. It's where you like really let go. Like, look at this ear. I know you might bother yourself and say, oh, it doesn't look like an ear, but it's like, it doesn't matter, right? Because you've prioritized other parts of the face, and therefore you've told us, hey, the ear isn't that important to me. But guess what? This is. And so in a lot of ways, you are telling us what you as an artist like. What do you want to really emphasize? And that really started to happen at this point.
Yeah, that one's still my favorite.
Yeah? Tell me, what are some of the qualities you like about this one?
So I like how so much of it isn't drawn, but it really shows like light and shadow. You know, you can see that the light was hitting the side of his face there, and it almost looks like it's completely washed out. You know, I just didn't really put a lot of time on it. But I think that actually emphasizes the shapes.
It does.
And yeah, and I used a lot more tone. He was when I started using a lot more. I just really started going in and you know, just the rug of tone.
Yep. You remember that.
The rug of tone. And I really started using it there, and it felt really good. It felt very like loose, you know, like I was really able to just keep finagling the features until I liked them without getting fussy.
Well, Simple Triskel, look at this. This is all line. And the difference here, I have nothing against line, but the difference here is that your line is so dominant that really what the tone is doing here, that's different in the other one. The tone is coloring things in because the line has done all the work. And so really the tone almost can't do anything because the line has made that so clear. Here, the tone is really saying something. You are telling us something with the tone that you can't tell us with the line, which is a very atmospheric area that's very loose, that sort of pulls me downwards. And that's all the difference, because I'm sorry to say, but most of the time, that's what tone does. It just colors things in. And that's a big shift in this drawing.
Yeah.
All right. And how about these later ones? Oh, wait. Did I not see this one?
Yeah, this was, you told me to go back and draw her again. So I did that.
Oh my gosh.
And I wanted to picture it with my hand because I'm drawing pretty big and I just like scale wise, they're pretty large. And I think that really helped too.
Yeah. I mean, everybody has their different feelings about drawing big or small, but I find drawing big, people sometimes say, oh, well, that's a lot of work. That's extra work that if I draw small. And I don't think that's always the case. I think sometimes for some people, like myself, drawing bigger feels, quote, easier because I feel like I have more wiggle room.
Yeah, absolutely. And I usually draw on my iPad. Like that's what I typically do. And so like, this is so much bigger and I feel so much looser and there's so much wiggle room. I really like that.
So Simple Triskel, this is Lori, same model. And of course it's different poses, but this is a beautifully done drawing. And this is a character with a colorful backstory. Like I want to know the origins of this. I mean, I don't know how to describe it, but she's a character and she's a person. There's such a big difference. Do you think it's just the facial expression, or do you think, I think, there's something about the way you drew this one, which is different than this one?
I do. I think I was able to, I don't even know. I'm thinking like maybe I was able to look at it better as a whole. So I wasn't just concentrating on like, oh, this should be a little bit darker here, but also like looking at her as a whole person.
Also, do you see how the hair is coming alive in this piece? Here, it's like, yeah, I have hair. That's fine. But oh my God.
I can't tell you how hard I pressed to try and get that dark. And that's as dark as it would go.
Well, the hair is almost like another figure in this portrait. I mean, I feel like I'm looking at a leg and there's like I don't know. It's like you've made the hair another figure. You've made it important. The hair here, it's beautifully drawn. I'm not saying that it's not well done, but it's a difference when the hair really becomes its own thing. So I hope you see how powerful that is.
Yeah. And I wish I'd had a little more time on that one, but yeah, I am really happy with it. I think as a cohesive whole, it came together so much better.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like, we're all proving this to ourselves, which it's a mindset. Your hands didn't magically change between the hours of the workshop and now. And it's like, you really do have this in you. We just got to pull it out.
Yeah, I feel like I got to give myself more time.
Yes. It's funny, even though these drawing sessions, I think, can exhaust us, afterwards, I'm always like, I want to do more. I got to do more. It's a very funny thing.
Well, to see such exponential growth is so crazy.
It is.
It's like, oh, in 3 hours, I went through, I don't know, like 6 years of,
Well,
learning.
it's great. I mean, it really says to me that you are pushing yourself. You're demanding more because you've got enough skill, and most people, you know, your average artist in here can just keep doing the same thing over and over again. But you can see with every drawing, you're innovating, you're evolving.
Yeah, this was so incredible.
Yay!
So nice to, yeah, it's so nice to they work again.
Excellent. All right. Thank you, Simple Triskel. Let's go to Ashley. So Ashley, how about you hop on voice and let's take a look at what you did. Ooh, I did not see this one that just came in. So tell me about this.
Yeah, that was the last one.
Yeah, let me pull up the other ones, but tell me about the last one while I'm doing that.
So I thought I would try to do one where the face was more distorted. I typically shy away from that because I depend so heavily on structure, and the face was so distorted in that image that I was like, oh, why not? It's just, if it doesn't turn out okay, then whatever. It's
yeah.
So I thought I'd give it a shot.
I mean, if I click through from beginning to the end, I think this one absolutely has the most emotion associated with it. Now, these two have great form and planes and, oh my God, yummy tone, especially on the left-hand side. But, oh my gosh, actually, it reminds me a lot of Simple Triskel's Lori towards the end. That, I don't know, I feel like this person's a entertainer, but they're in a lot of pain. It's got a backstory. Do you see that, Ashley?
Yeah, I had fun with that one. I think this will give me the courage to try some more like portraits that are like extremely distorted.
You can always tell when somebody's having fun, and you can always tell when somebody's bored or feels restricted. And your skill set, you know enough about the structure of the portrait that you can totally draw a portrait. But I think the challenge is the emotional component of the portrait. And sometimes, in some ways, people that have less experience, like hard skills with portraits, it's easier for them to make emotionally driven pieces because it's like they don't have the skill to articulate all these things. And sometimes it's like your superpower, it's almost like it makes it harder for you. It's like because you can articulate it, you sort of feel like you have to. And so for me to say, hey, don't articulate that, it's like, what? No, what do I do?
Yes, that's 100%.
Well, because I think when we have the skills, it makes us uncomfortable to not use them because you think, oh, I spent so much time refining these skills. I have them. I should use them. But really, I think a lot of it is just knowing. I mean, it's like that Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility. It's like, how do you use that power? And in this one, oh boy, that mouth. That is an angry mouth, Ashley. Tell me how you arrived at that.
I did what you were saying about really looking at the shapes and not looking at it like a mouth.
Yeah.
And that helped a lot, actually.
It's a big difference. And I think that combined with these two shadows, you see how it's sort of similar to what I was talking to Emily about the direction of your stroke. Like I can feel this stroke. Like let's say it starts here. And it does this crazy like curve. It's almost like a car that's like making a turn way too fast. That's the way I think about that mark. And then when I look at this one, it's like, let's say it starts here. It's like really solid and basic. And then it just swerves off, but it slows down. Like, this is a very fast mark, and the way it ends is extremely abrupt. This one sort of trails off a little bit more. And so I think it's not just you emphasizing and being more willing to distort, but the speed of your marks is changing. I hope you see that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I definitely tried to draw faster than what I was comfortable with so that I didn't focus so much on trying to get things super structured.
But you know something, you didn't entirely get rid of that structure. You see this bottom part of the neck on the left-hand side?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this area, it almost looks like, I guess, pieces of wood that have been like leaned against the side of something. And it's not very volumetric. It doesn't have tone the way, say, this side does. But I like how disruptive that is. It's like it comes in and sort of rips things up. And then you have the hair, which is very soft. It feels like it's got a lot of body to it. And so that contrast is like, how the heck does a luscious, soft black mark like this coexist with these marks? But you've given us a reason to understand why they belong together. And I think this was a turning point. I think this is where you said, yep, I'm going to do this. And then it came to fruition here. And so maybe it's maybe we just need to find you really extreme reference photos where you have no choice but to distort.
Yes, actually, I think that is probably nail on the head. Like,
do you feel in some of these earlier ones that maybe they weren't piquing your curiosity as much?
Yeah, I think because I just kind of started the video, I didn't have a choice in what I was drawing.
Yeah, you
so
don't.
It wasn't as exciting. But then when I went through the Flickr and I was like picking ones that, oh, hey, I like the wrinkles on the sky, and that really, that helped.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, we can't always blame it on the reference photo, but boy, does it make a difference. I mean, I confess that I've had times when I was in art school and we'd have different models, of course. And of course, depending on the artist and the model, it's like sometimes some models are a better fit for you. Sometimes you have a model and they just spark all this excitement. Other times you're half asleep because you were up all night on your project and it doesn't matter who's modeling. But the point is that I think you're seeing how important maybe those more exaggerated facial expressions are to pull this out of you. And then I would say moving forward, I would love to see some like grit in your board. Like, I want to see skin from you that looks like the edge of a rock. Something really over the top in terms of texture, because most of these do tend to have sort of the same level of texture. I mean, of course, this one has a lot of lighting on it, so we're not seeing that so much. But I think you could have a lot of fun with that.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You could even draw with multiple references. So you have a face that you're drawing from, and maybe even some reference photos, I'm not kidding, of rocks or like moldy architecture, and then ask yourself, hey, how can I combine those two things together? Because I can tell you, it's rare that I find a reference photo that gives me everything I want. A lot of the time, oh, I want this, or I don't like the hat or whatever. And so that might be really fun for you to try.
Oh, I totally agree. I think that would definitely help me step up the texture in some of these portraits.
Because I know you can do texture, Ashley. I've seen it. So now we just need to apply it to the portraits. All right. Very cool, Ashley. Excellent. And keep those comments coming. You're all doing an amazing job of making that happen. Some great comments from everybody. Okay, so the last person we have is Lisa. So Lisa, how about you hop on voice? And
Hey.
let me see. I have to find you here. Let's see. Lisa, how come you're not popping up?
Hill Country, maybe?
Oh, maybe I need to do Hill Country. Sorry. Hill, there you are.
There.
Okay. So Lisa, what was this experience like for you from beginning to end?
Oh, I always just totally enjoy these group things.
Yeah.
They're just such joy. I love seeing everybody's work, and it's, you know, always a pleasure.
I think a lot of it has to do with momentum. That when you're drawing with other people, you build off of each other's energy. And I just think you can't create that by yourself.
Yeah, and I also enjoy hearing other people as they become more comfortable and they explore and become better. Their pleasure and their joy.
Yeah.
It's just so nice. I just love to hear it.
It is. And I think sometimes hearing other people helps us realize things about ourselves that maybe we had trouble articulating, or maybe it wasn't quite true. Or, you know, it's like sometimes people are essentially saying the same thing, but it's like, oh, that one word that one person used, oh my gosh, it makes sense now.
Yeah, or they're just their tone or their pause. Yeah, true.
All right, so you worked on the child more.
Does she look younger?
She does. Tell me what you did differently. Like, what did you adjust in the second version?
Okay, she had the eyes, those big, huge pupils, because kids have the visible part of their eye is so small versus the not the pupil. What's the colored part called? That. And I think I brought the chin up some.
Yes, you did.
Because they don't have chins. You know, they have just really the features ought to be pushed down even further, probably. Yeah.
I think a lot of it has to do with just making the features rounder. I mean, I'm clicking back.
I did that too.
Forth.
Yeah.
Like, just look at the eyes.
Yep,
and they have a roundness to them. That's, I mean, I guess it's partially the marks you're using here are scratchier.
No, I made them rounder. You're right. I refused to believe they were that round at first, because that's not possible, I thought. So I'm like, no, they're little round marbles. Yeah.
But you know, something I appreciate about your drawings, Lisa, is that you really are good at making these scratchy, loud, almost dissonant marks. But then I've also seen in your pieces that you are able to make round organic shapes. And that's just such a powerful combination, because the problem with the human figure, it's geometric, but it's also organic. And most of the time, people are either one or the other. And being able to combine the two of those together is very hard. It's a tricky balance. It depends on the model, depends on the style that you're drawing with. But I think you've got a great balance of that. And you know something, I just realized, Lisa, looking at this one on the right, she has like nothing outlined on her face. Did you see that?
Yeah. I don't even know if that was on purpose or not. I have no idea.
Well, I think.
But yeah, I like it.
I'm trying to figure out why, despite the lack of outlines, the eyes, nose, and mouth do feel like they are in a face. They don't look like they're floating. And I wonder if it's this like back and forth eraser work. Like the value here, it's so light. I mean, not a lot of contrast. And yet something about that eraser was enough to suggest that presence of the structure.
Yeah.
I think that's brilliant. Wow.
I like
incredible.
her little cat mouth for some reason. It just makes me grin every time.
Oh, well, let me tell you, Lisa, that is a philtrum. Everybody see this? This is like poster child for the philtrum. Fantastic. It's such a minor thing. I mean, in the child, you almost can't even see that they have a philtrum. And on some people, it's not that pronounced, or maybe on a specific point of view, you can't see it very well. But I think what you're very good at doing is pulling out the parts that are important to you and then leaving some other things behind.
I think that's a skill I'm trying to work on.
Yeah.
Because you can't draw everything. Yeah.
No, you can't. I mean, some people do. I can't. I don't have the patience for that.
Me either.
Let me look at some of the anatomy stuff going on in here. Yeah, I would love to see you at some point. I know some of these photos aren't great for this, but really work on your necks and see if you can get the elasticity, the tension, because the neck is easy to overlook or underestimate in some cases. And we need to get some neck action from you.
Yep.
I think Ken has some good neck references on the Flickr page that you can take a look at, because necks are funny. They can be very elegant and graceful, and they can also be really scary looking in some circumstances. And I just imagine you could do so well with that.
It would be fun to focus on that. Yeah.
Yeah. Because there is the assumption with a portrait, it's the face. But the face has a lot to do with the neck, and even the way somebody's shoulders are tilted, or they carry more weight than I think a lot of people think. So perhaps that's your next conquest, Lisa?
I think it is, because seeing everybody, the people, before me who were doing, and what the drawings that was attractive to me often had a great neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, or if you ever forget to draw the neck and you look at it and you're like, oh, that's horrible. It's floating. It's a balloon shaped like a face. Yeah.
It's just one of those body parts. It's so easy to overlook because we just have so many. And quite frankly, those collarbones are just so glamorous and cool. So of course we're going to bypass the neck. But it would be really fun to see you do some portraits with that, Lisa.
Yeah, I agree.
Fantastic. All right, everybody, that is it for this premium workshop. Thank you all for joining us. Please know that you are going to get some resources and links. I will follow up with those later so that people can see some of the things that I was talking about. And remember, you all have access to this workshop channel for one more week, and I will also be emailing you a short paragraph talking about your work during the workshop, and also some thoughts about what you can do moving forward. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. I will see you next time. Bye.
Thanks.